it's Amanda Hinman, founder of the Hinman Holistic Health Institute. And today I'm really excited to share some information with you about the benefits of activity and exercise and moving your body. And I know this is nothing new. We all know that when our kids are active and involved in different things and moving their body, they feel good and they stay healthy. It's something that everyone is aware of. So that's not new. What is new though is this perspective and this information about the study of life called Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda is an ancient Indian philosophy of life and energy, and it really has, I mean, it's dated back thousands and thousands of years and has such powerful principles to apply and just to be aware of and see how it's impacting not only you, but also your child and anyone in your family. So I'm going to describe the Ayurveda is based on 3 different energy types, or what they call doshas: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And today I'm going to focus primarily on how these energy types, these doshas, pertain to physical activity. And you can always apply these to different ways of eating, different ways of balancing your health, different temperaments and behavioral styles. So we'll talk more about that at another training. But today I'm going to apply the doshas and how it relates to physical activity and just being involved and really allowing your body to be as healthy as it possibly can. But let me give you a little bit of background. So if this is a person, my stick figure drawing, let's start about where these energies are and what they relate to. So the first one is Vata energy, and I like to put that up by the head because really people who have a Vata style or a Vata balance of energy as their primary energy tend to have a lot of energy in their head. Think of headspace. They have racing thoughts, busy mind, they're sharp, they're quick. In terms of body style, a Vata person who is dominant with energy at a higher level tends to have a lean and narrow, thin body style, even short or tall. They just tend to be long and lengthy. So that is the Vata energy, and we're going to talk more about that as it relates to activity. The next is Pitta, which is kind of more like fire. Oh, and I'm going to tell you the elements. So Vata relates to air, the energy of air. Think of air as always around us in space, moving and free-flowing. That is the Vata energy. Pitta is the energy of fire, and you know, it's strength and it's warming and it can be aggressive and it can be just very powerful. So Pitta is really usually centered around the midsection. So people who tend to, if you think of body shape, be more apple shaped, or even if they were to gain weight, tend to gain weight through the midsection, that is usually a person who has a high amount of Pitta energy at that point in their life. And then finally, the third energy is Kapha. And this energy is more like earth, the energy of earth or the ground. And Kapha body types tend to be more pear-shaped, or in other words, they carry their energy lower. So the balance of where their energy goes, they tend to be more peaceful, more grounded, more even keel personality types. So people who are can stay mellow, can stay free-flowing and peaceful and harmonious, tend to have a high Kapha energy. So it's really interesting as you think about your child, right? And you think about different challenges that come up. Oftentimes, kids naturally, we have different phases of our life where we have these different energies. Typically, childhood is the energy of Kapha. Think about kids are carefree, they have less responsibilities, they're kind of meandering through life. They're not usually in a rush to get from place to place. They're kind of just casually grounded and moving at their own cadence. Then next in our life, the mid 20s to 40s and 50s maybe even tends to be the Pitta phase of life, when you're more aggressive, when you have goals, when you're trying to achieve things in your career and to establish a family. And that is kind of the more active, fiery phase of life. And typically later in life is the Vata energy, the air, where it's more reflective, contemplative. You're looking back upon your life and really thinking about, did I accomplish what I want, and what else is meaningful to me? So that just in terms of phase of life is normally the average balance. However, what I find so common now is that kids who struggle with things like ADD or ADHD and even seizures like my daughter, or anxiety, that tends to be someone who has a really high balance of Vata energy. Because if you think about that neurologically, there's a lot of things happening in their brain. So by definition, whether it's distracted thoughts or in my daughter's case, seizure activity, her neurotransmitter activity, her energy when it was measured by an EEG machine in her brain, would totally spike when she has a seizure. So it literally is a lot of energy up in the top part of her body, right? So another thing to be aware of is kids who struggle with allergies or a lot of inflammation. Even my third daughter for a while who had eczema. That tends to be a lot of heat or trapped aggression and fiery energy. That's excessive pitta energy. And then kapha energy, if that gets too imbalanced and too excessive, that can lead to predispositions of depression, lack of self-confidence, procrastination, lethargy. Those types of things can be prone to people who have excessive kapha energy in their balance. And I want you to know one thing that's cool is this can always shift around. In fact, I used to be very vata, and I used to have very nervous thoughts, jittery and kind of anxious, overwhelmed, and have dramatically shifted in different periods of my life depending on how I nourish my body. And we're going to talk about activity, how this can be a great balancing for your child and for yourself. So just to kind of clear what types of activities really help counterbalance or even out excessive energies in any one area. Well, vata energy, like I said, is very light and airy and moves and kind of flits from one thing to the next. So people who have a high amount of vata energy maybe tend to benefit from having more grounding, slow-paced, rhythmic, consistent types of movement or activity in their life. So for example, for me, when I switched, I used to teach cardio kickboxing class when I was vata, and that totally put me high music, high energy, moving from one thing to the next. It increased my vata energy. And when I moved to doing a lot more yoga and strength training, it really grounded me and stabilized my energy. So even for kids, if you have a child that is struggling with a lot of anxiety or a lot of ADD and things like that, distracted a lot of energy in their brain region, then some activities that may be good for them are more like slower paced bike riding or walking or hiking or even like I said, stretching, things that are going to ground their energy, make them more centered and more strong, stable and strong. That is going to be a great complement to excessive vata energy. Now what about pitta? So pitta is that child that's very aggressive and maybe quick to anger and competitive in sports. So things like a lot of competitive programs and a competitive team is going to add to this pitta energy. So if a child has a lot of pitta energy, maybe a lot of allergies and inflammation, doing too much of that type of activity is going to add to that aggression, that overheating and that inflammation. So some really good types of activities or ways to move your body to balance out excessive pitta energy are things like swimming, cooling activities, being in water, also hiking outdoors and being out where it's cool air. Other things are like karate and tai chi or stretching, even bowling, different types of gardening, different types of ways to be active and outside and cool rather than really competitive, aggressive, intense. So just something to keep in mind when you're thinking about for your child or for yourself. And finally, this kapha energy. So if someone is slow moving, procrastinating, even depressed sometimes, when they have excessive kapha energy, something that's going to help balance and raise their energy up is more intense cardiovascular type things. Even things like soccer or tennis, things where you're moving around, where you're participating in something that's a little bit more intense and gets the body moving and gets the energy kind of shifting upward. So these are all things to keep in mind. Jogging, different types of ways to balance out what type of activity is going to really help you get to where you want to be. And sometimes we tend to naturally be drawn to doing the things that we already have in excess. So in other words, when I was excessive vata energy, at that time, before I had any awareness of how to try and balance, I was drawn to doing things that were quick-paced, high energy, go, and kind of flit around without realizing that that's just attracting more of the same energy that I have, and then eventually led to anxiety and other challenging health conditions. So be aware that your child may initially be drawn to things that are actually contributing to an excessive situation already, and that's okay, that's normal. It's also just something to keep tucked in the back of your mind. Well, if there's a substitution or a way that we can then complement and add a different type of activity that's going to maybe help balance out and kind of act like that teeter-totter, something to keep in mind. So as you go forward, I would love for you to let us know your thoughts. Let me know what is helpful for you. If your child is very anxious and overwhelmed, what type of grounding, centering, slower paced activities could you introduce into their daily routine? And make it something simple. Again, this is all about practical, simple, something that's manageable and easy to do. So something as simple as a 5-minute stretching cycle where you're really focusing on your feet and pushing your feet into the ground. Again, when you bring that energy to the feet, it takes energy away from your head and dissipates it through your body to your feet. So keep these in mind. Let us know what works for you and what doesn't work. And I'd love to hear your comments either way. Leave us a message on this post in Facebook, let us know on the blog, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.